filming of grade school football. That would have filled the auditorium.
Somebody held up a sign, a large sign.
So I just want to go ahead and welcome you tonight. And I want to thank Dee Dee's helped us get this set up tonight. Brian Dino works for DPS. He came and did a presentation for our 3rd through 5th graders in end of September, beginning of October. So she's taping it. So I have to talk loud? All right, thank you. So Brian Dino came and spoke with our 3rd through 5th graders end of September, beginning of October, all about digital citizenship. So really working with them on how to use the internet safely and properly. And so this is a chance for parents to hear that same presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to him, and I hope that you enjoy and learn lots.
So, my name is Brian Dino. I'm with the Denver Public Schools, and I do a lot of work with this great group called Common Sense Media, which I'm going to share with you. How many of you ever heard of Common Sense Media before? User media reviews? Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And actually, this is actually a slightly different presentation than what the kids see. So the kids, we make it a little bit more fun, and we did a little bit of magic in that. But for the adults, since I'm also a parent of a 5th grader and a 7th grader, we're just going to try to share with you lots of information, and hopefully we'll get a couple things out of this that might help you manage your media life at home. I tend to jump around a little bit, so this is your anchor slide deck. I'm really going to reference this, but if you get lost, you're like, where did he go? This is the anchor slide deck. If you want the hyperlinks, we're not that advanced yet. You can't push the links on here. But at the very top of the first slide you have there, and also right here, that's the live deck. You can download it, and all the hyperlinks will work. So that'll work for you. I'm mainly going to reference this slide deck and also the Common Sense site. So hopefully you'll be able to follow along. So we're going to talk a little bit about media reviews, media literacy, which we think is very critical at the elementary age and sort of at the middle school age. We'll talk a little bit about internet safety and share some media management tips that might work for you. We probably have some experts in the room here too. We'll ask you to share some tips that work for you, take some questions and answers, and go from there. Let me just find out who is in the room. Raise your hand if you have elementary kids. Should be everybody. That's why we're here. How about middle school? Middle school? Okay. Any parents of high schoolers? Okay. All right. How's that going? Okay. That's another program. Okay. Yeah. So you have all 3 levels? Okay. Wow. All right. There's time to tell you about me. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. At the last, where we were at Western Creek, and all elementary parents, and then one volunteer all 3 levels, all the elementary parents could not understand why DPS allows kids in high school to have cell phones. And they want to start a petition to ban cell phones at all DPS high schools, because they threw it to the high schools. And one mom stood up and said, just visit a high school, you'll see that will not work. Right? So, yeah, that's how they live now. A lot of them are in school. So anyway, let me just talk briefly about Common Sense Medium, because you're going to see them a lot here. We've had a partnership for 5 years in Denver Public Schools with them. We like them because they're a nonprofit. They have nothing to sell. Their reviews are trustworthy. Mainly, they're also an independent voice. So we refer to them a lot with our curriculum. A lot of our DPS schools use their materials to teach your kids to be safe and smart, and we like them. So you can also look them up. They're in 1,300 schools. They're based in California, but they have now a global reach since this internet thing is spread. And they also have a great game that a lot of our schools at the elementary level play to teach our kids to be safe and smart. But we know the schools can only do so much, right? Because they go to your house after school, and in 2 weeks, you're going to have them for 2 weeks, right? So you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to be doing? So these are some of the concerns we have as parents. Look at this. Kids spend about 7.5 hours a day in front of a screen. That's on average. That might be more here, because I understand you just went 1-to-1. So might be spending more time in front of a screen. A little more cyberbullying reports, since kids are online more. YouTube. 66% of children ages 6 to 12 visit YouTube daily, and including 72% of the young ones, 6 to 8-year-olds. How many of you have your kids in elementary school use YouTube quite a bit? Yeah. Okay. A lot of great stuff on YouTube, right? Mine. At home we have a 5th grader. She's at a Northwest Denver public school, and she is a cooking fiend. A lot of great cooking shows out there. She's filming her own videos. I'll show you the one tip as we move through this. The great one thing, if you do a lot of YouTube and you don't know about family safety mode, we'll show you that. And then, of course, for the older set, we talk to them about their digital footprint. College admission officers come looking at your digital footprint, and of course, employers. So that's some of the concerns that we have as parents. And now I'll share with you maybe some tips on how you might manage your home media life. And we're really going to divide them into these 5 big buckets on how to raise media smart kids. Set limits, which has always been a big purview of parents. Make rules, discuss safety, be a media critic, and join the fun. And we're going to spend most of our time here at these 3 top big buckets here: setting limits, making rules, and talking about safety. So, setting limits, and this is one of the biggest challenges for parents, right? Because this is a new world. Most of you probably didn't grow up with the internet, neither did I, and yet our kids now are, boy, we're one-to-one here. They're online. What are they doing? What are they doing outside of school? How much time should they spend on front of a screen? So, for guidance on some of that, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they just released their new guidelines. I actually brought them with me if you want them here. And they just came out with these, I believe, last month. And they reference a few things. So, the American Pediatrics, their biggest takeaway is really, it may not be much guidance, but reasonable. They used to say no more than 2 hours per day. Up until October, they were saying no more than 2 hours per day of screen time for kids. But we know, especially now with the one-to-one school, that's not practical. So their big takeaway is, like all their activities, screen time, kids should have reasonable limits. And asking them these questions: does your child's technology use help or hinder participation in other activities? And they remind us that media is just another environment now. Children do the same things they've always done, only virtually. Same thing here with the one-to-one. Now they're reading online. How many have e-readers at home? Kids are Nooks or Kindles. Okay, so kids might be reading more. Of course, they may not be. It just depends on what's on the screen. So this could be a good first step for you. So just looking at the American Academy guidelines, it's interesting to note that if you have kids coming into middle school, what they said about teens, and that is it's okay for your teens to be online. So because if they're not, depending on the school they're at, they might be ostracized. So you have 5th graders moving into middle school. Our middle schools are struggling with trying to find the right balance in their environments for kids, and how much tech they use during the day, whether they use cell phone policies, etc. But so that's a good starting point, is what the pediatricians have recommended. Again, reasonable limits, and that varies with each family. In our house, there's no TV during the week, but now, even if you block TV, your kid can access everything else on the screen, so you have to manage those other environments. Here's another place to turn for screen time. And so I'm going to go to the Common Sense site here. This is the Common Sense Media site. It's commonsense.org or commonsensemedia.org. And here's their live site. And if you are curious about screen time or other major topics that parents have, this year they unveiled their parent concerns page. So this is the Common Sense site. And right here is parent concerns, and their top one is screen time. Because with all the schools they work with, the top questions they get are, how much screen time is okay for my kids? And the other main question they get is, should I spy on my kids? Which is a common question that I get. So for the screen time for kids, you can look at their suggestions here. Again, they're mainly going to talk about balance. The common sense message is about, what is your kid doing? Are they active? Is it part of their, are they having healthy activities offline and online? But this is a great start. And this is divided up, this section here on screen time, by age. So you can go look at preschoolers all the way up to teens and see what the common sense recommendation is. If you have a texter, they have some recommendations for kids who seem to text a lot. So two good resources to help you answer screen time. Do we have folks who have screen time limits, or have they hours or certain restrictions that they share at home that you'd like to share with us? Yeah.
2 hours total.
2 hours total?
And we don't watch TV.
Okay. Is that daily?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, on the weekends it's different, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 2 hours total, but it usually doesn't go that far.
Okay.
Anyway.
And
so
that's just screen time.
Right.
Okay. And TV's not included.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the internet or, okay.
Right, homework, math apps included, things like that.
Okay.
Reading.
All right. And that's for your elementary?
Correct, she's in 3rd grade.
3rd grade, okay. All right. Okay. All right, so, and again, every family is different. I know a couple families that were, they just, at the elementary level, they do the Kindle and not the Kindle Fire, because when you, Kindle Fire, of course, has the internet and other things. They have really good built-in controls on the Kindle Fire, but you have to learn how to use them. But the basic e-reader is still really good just for reading. But they've restricted kids to basic e-readers, and their reading has gone up quite a bit. And I'll share with you a couple things to do if you're worried about multitasking at night, etc. I brought a couple of handouts for that too. So again, there's the parent concerns page. They're working with a lot of the leading research organizations around the country to get the most current answers from everything related to kids and technology on there. When we look at some of the other topics, cyberbullying, privacy and internet safety, cell phone parenting. They're doing a big campaign on violence in the media and screen or content ratings too. Setting limits on content. So another concern of parents is, wow, now my kid has access to the internet, so everything might be able to be accessed on there. So how do I find good content? On the Common Sense site, this is really where they got started about 14 years ago. On their site are over 24,000 media reviews for almost all types of media. And so here's the Common Sense site again. Right on the far left side are their reviews. And we just go into the reviews. Let's start with their movie reviews here. Coming down to their DVD and on demand. These movies probably just came out today on DVD. Video games. Everything media related, they have reviews for. So they got reviews for almost 7,000 movies, 3,400 games, lots of apps, 1,000 websites, TV shows, books, and music. And they lead off with their age-appropriate rating. So especially at the elementary school level, if you want to limit the content they see, this could be a really good guide. And there's other rating systems out there, but the Common Sense site has the most extensive library in the U.S. Let's just look at one here. And how many use the ratings? How many use the Common Sense ratings? Okay, all right. So, Hunger Games. This was the blockbuster of the last 2 weeks. And let's see, we'll look at this one. This was, I think the second one, maybe the first one. It gives you a quick rating, 14 plus, but then it gives you an in-depth review. And they'll do this for all the media types. So positive messages in that movie, but it's high on the violence. And there's an in-depth review there. And of course, the parents can write in, and the parents say, hey, let the 13-year-old see it. Kids can write in, and of course the kids say, hey, let the 12-year-old see it. Right? Okay? That's probably my 12-year-old last year. So this is a good start for you, especially at the elementary and middle school level. They do this for 24,000 types of media. So if you're thinking of buying something for the holidays, right here under educational apps and games, they have their best ratings here for all of the for every piece of media, almost every piece of media that says, hey, we're an educational game, we're an educational app. Common Sense says, well, are you really? And they'll rate it. So they have their list of their top picks for learning here. I'll just go down to, let's filter, let's say for a 10-year-old. And here's actually a great game building site called GameStar Mechanic. So for the educational sites or apps, they'll give you a learning rating. They'll actually tell you if it has a learning value. So that could be helpful, especially if you're considering buying something for a device that your child already has. They review websites. So Cool Math. Anybody have kids playing Cool Math? Okay, a fun site if you ask math teachers. It's pretty fun. My kids like it, but it's not the best at learning. So it's 3 out of 5 stars. And again, if you look at the Common Sense rating, why is that? Because they're trying to sell a lot of things on that site. So it's still a fun site, but if you want a really good math site, you can come to the Common Sense and they'll have the top, in their educational section, they'll have their top picks for math. And that's actually, they just broke that up here under their top picks, best for learning list. So you can do that for 24,000 types of media, even all your video games. Here's the one that's played by some of our high schoolers and middle schoolers. They rate all of those too. So Grand Theft Auto, one of the most popular ones. They rate anything your kid can see, they pretty much rate it here. So, and again, we like them because they're independent. They don't take any money from any of these publishers. They see here all of their philanthropy is not related to Hollywood, so they remain independent. And you may not agree with the reviews or the reviewer. They're very transparent, though, on how they review and who is doing the reviewing. I would steer you towards the top picks, because if you're busy like a lot of parents, if you're looking for a holiday movie, they have their Common Sense seal up there for Hollywood. And then they also have their great family guides, and they just released their holiday gift guide. So if your child wants a new electronic device and what to put on it, that's a great gift guide that has the reviews. So those are 2 sites, and so in all full disclosure too, why is all this free? All of these small media companies here, how many have Netflix? Netflixers? Nope. Neither Comcast. How many have Comcast? A few Comcast. So all of these companies want to be in your house, but they also know you want to make sure that there's family-friendly content. So they buy everything I just showed. They license all of those ratings I just showed you for their systems there. So that's how they make all of this free to educators and your parents. One last thing about Hollywood, since a lot of kids see movies during break, they don't always agree with the Hollywood rating. So this is PG-13. Does anybody know how old the Hollywood rating system is? Our PG-13. It's almost 30 years old. So that was pre-internet. So that's where another rating system might come into play. So in this case, Common Sense said this is for 13 years old, 13 and up, and it was PG-13. By the way, the PG-13 category is the most profitable for Hollywood. Most of your movies are going to be PG-13 because that's where they make the most money. Take it if you're a Liam Neeson fan. This was PG-13, but common sense says 15. So lots of vigilante violence. Okay. So again, it's just a nice check because, again, exposure to violence is it's part of the world we live in now. And of course, all your games are out there too. Anything that says grand theft, pretty much is not for kids, just so you know. All right, I had to repeat that at the middle school I was at the other day, twice. Lots of great sites. If you want to sign up for the Common Sense newsletter, I'll show you how, but they have great articles like Best Play Together Games for Families. If you want to do something online with your child, they have articles like that that come out. They're very timely and topical. There's the holiday gift guide. All right, wow, we're still under topic 1 of setting limits because that's the biggest job. Now, how about the internet? How many of you filter your internet at home, like block inappropriate sites, limit what they can see? Anybody filter, block? Okay. So something you might want to consider. Not all parents believe in this, and that's fine, but I'm going to give you some options here if you want. We have to here at the school. So when they pull up on that Chromebook, Miss Ravel, she is working so hard, and the district is too, because boy, a lot of these sites, they want to get to your kid. And it gets tougher every month. I mean, because new technologies are coming out, and kids start, I mean, the middle school is really, it's challenging. So we filter the internet here. So if they accidentally or purposely try to get to a site that is not appropriate, it should be blocked. If you want to do that at home, here's a couple of good sites. OpenDNS.com is a free one. They also have a paid service. They filter the internet for a lot of major school districts, but they have a home version here. It's called Family Shield, and it does what it says. It's pre-configured to block adult content. The nice thing about this is it does it at the network level. So if you're a family that brings in, we have an iPod or a Kindle, use our wireless, you can set it at the device level too, but it'll do it at the network level. So like in here, when kids bring their, well, they don't bring their devices in, right? No. Okay. But if they, at your home, they bring any device in and use your internet, it will filter it. And this is Family Shield. And personally, I've been using that for about 5 years. You set it and forget it. And there's the product matrix. There is one thing you do have to get to your router. So I've just lost about half the audience right here. So here's my best advice for this, because a lot of parents, the kids might know more than they do. Find a geek you can trust, an uncle or somebody you know who come into your house, and just set it up on your router, and they set it and forget it. And it's really nice. My wife works a lot with refugee communities, and they have one trusted geek who comes in and sets up the internet, and it works. And it's free. The Family Shield is free. If you really want to see what sites are being accessed on your home network, you can pay $20 a year and get one of these other two, and you'll get reports, much like we get reports here. Do you still get reports? I know at the middle and high school levels, they get reports every month like, oh wow, somebody's accessing FanDuel on our computers here. But if you want to do that at home, you can do that. So that's OpenDNS, something to look at if you wanted to block inappropriate content. There's also Norton Online Family, which is big. Anybody else use something they want to share? I know NetNan is pretty popular.
So I don't know how to do it, so I realized that my son is in second grade, is really coming up to speed on things.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized there's a guest mode on our Mac. And he kept asking me for the login for the regular, and I said, no, I don't know what that is. Just hit guest and you can go, and then we set, and you can go to 10 places. You can go to your math homework, you can go to your reading homework, you can go to...
So everything's pre-configured on the guest.
You just say, this is where you can go. And if you go to YouTube, it won't let you go.
Okay. And they have short little 6 hot video games for the holidays. They have short 1 to 2 minute videos that are in English and in Spanish. And let me just share with you their YouTube one. So if your child uses a lot of YouTube, there you go. You might find this helpful here.
Let's face it, kids love YouTube. Whether they're watching funny videos, learning cool stuff, or uploading their own creations, they can stay pretty busy on the popular video channel. But, as we all know, not everything about YouTube is fun and games. So here are 5 ways to make YouTube safer for kids. First, set up a family account. By creating a shared Google account, you can not only keep an eye on the videos your kids watch and upload, but you can also see what information they share. Simply go to the top of the YouTube page and select Sign In, and it will lead you to a Google Accounts page to start the process. Second, turn on Safety Mode. YouTube offers a filter called Safety Mode that limits some, but not all, of the iffy stuff. Simply scroll down to the bottom of your YouTube page, and under the safety box, select On. It's browser specific, and you always have to be logged in for it to work. Third, subscribe to channels. A good way to limit all the inappropriate content your kids could encounter on YouTube is to have them subscribe to their favorite channels. That way, they'll get notified when a new cool video is uploaded and hopefully stay on that channel. Fourth, upload privately. If your kid wants to upload a video, it might be a good idea to limit who can view it. When you click Upload, select either Private or Unlisted. Private means only people you choose can view the video. And unlisted means that only people you send a link to can view it. And fifth, disable comments. When uploading videos, there's always a chance of someone posting an offensive comment. To avoid that, simply select the Advanced Settings tab on the upload screen. You can either turn off comments entirely or keep them unpublished until you can approve them. For more tips and advice, visit us at commonsense.org.
So I found that safety mode works really well for the elementary set. As they get a little bit older, moving to middle school, it may not work so well. And safety mode is safety mode's at the very bottom. And do I have safety mode? Restricted mode is off. But go ahead and go home and just try a demonstration with safety mode. Search for something on YouTube like pop music with safety mode off, and then turn safety mode on, and you'll see with safety mode on, people wear a lot more clothes in the thumbnail. Okay? So I don't do the demonstration here anymore because I'm running into trouble with it off. So, but if the kids do a lot of YouTube, safety mode is really nice. It is browser specific, but if they like it, in this gentleman's case, when they log on, they just have one browser maybe to use. Maybe it's Chrome, Safari, Firefox, just have one browser, and then you lock it in that one browser with the password, so every time they access YouTube, it's on. So that can make a big difference in safety mode. Again, it works probably till they get to 6th grade, then they'll say, well, now I can't get to a lot of things, and then you just kind of have to moderate. But for the elementary set, there's a lot of good things on YouTube, but also everybody's publishing on YouTube, a lot of things you don't want to see. Safety mode can make a nice difference. I didn't want to diss the Windows crowd, because I also have a Windows machine, but as he set up a guest account on these Windows machines, you can set up just a kid account. It'll ask you for their age, and then it'll set restrictions. We had one machine the kids use up until middle school, and we had one login, and it knew that was a 10-year-old accessing that computer, so it set the filters accordingly. And again, with filtering, not everything's perfect. Amy will tell you that, but it's trying to direct them towards the good sites. And if they can bookmark channels and find the good things, they'll gravitate hopefully towards the appropriate content. So safety mode, there's also a link there if you really wanted to get granular with parental controls on devices. There's on that hyperlink on the Kindles, because now, boy, as at Best Buy today, the Kindle Fire are just stacked up like commodities, right, with $30, $40. But the Kindle Fire has a really good set of parental controls that parents really like, just looking at the reviews online, personally using it. It's a really nicely built parental control set. Here's also one other idea for websites, and it's says here. So this is our library catalog. Raise your hand if any of you use this at home. Good. So if you get one thing out of the night, we pay $300,000 a year for these online databases, which you can use. So here's an example. So to get to them, and they probably have these linked on the library site here, right?
We have an Asbury Learning Links site that has everything
Yep.
on
So,
it.
So we pay $300,000 a year for these databases, and you can use these anytime. All you need to know is your student's 6-digit ID number, and you're in. So like NetTrekker, this is a great research site. Look at that search engine. There's no ads. There's nothing there. Your child has a project on, I don't know, Civil War. Go do some research, and these are all curated resources. And look at that. There are no scantily clad folks on the right side. It's pure. They can focus. Look at that. So this is NetTrekker. Free for you to use at home. You pay for it. We spend $300,000 a year. This is just one of like 60 databases. So the link's on the website. It's also lion.dpsk12.org. If you just Google DPS space lion, you'll get to it. That's one of my favorites, though, because when you send an elementary kid to Google, you send an elementary kid to Google, right? And there's like, depending who's been accessing that machine, you might get a lot of distractions on the side. What else is on here? Oh, Brain Pop. I love Brain Pop. I know some parents over the break, they're like, well, if you're going to watch an hour of this, let's trade it out for some educational things. Everything you want to know, from science to social studies to English. They have great content here. You'll get the login probably from the Asbury site.
Yeah, we had that on there too.
Okay.
It's on the page.
Great. And so these are awesome. So again, if you have the internet at home and you're a DPS parent, you can access this. So what else is on? Yes, that would be. Yep. Just Google that. Okay. Culture Grants, Britannica. So again, they need to do other research. Is Britannica Elementary? I think that's one of the more popular sites there. But again, curated for you, and because again, sending your kid to Google, if you can avoid that, I mean, eventually they will have to do their own research. But at the elementary level, we really want that focus, and it's here. Okay, so all of those resources are there for you.
One of our kids' favorite ones is PebbleGo on there.
Okay.
The younger kids like K1 too. It's a great research site.
PebbleGo, the Emergent Reader Research Solution. Okay, wow.
It reads it to them, and they can click through, and there's all kinds of tabs. Like if you click on animals, it goes through all these different things.
Nice. Okay. So you can do this at home now. Okay. So for those 2 weeks during the holidays, could be something they access. And no ads. Nice. All right. Finally, on cell phones, middle school parents, again, it's probably when you're going to have the most cell phone use. Go to your cell phone carrier, because they are making lots of money. Anybody here work for a cell phone carrier? Okay. They're very profitable, but they have plans for parents. Okay. Even for the elementary set, you can give them a phone, just that they can text a few numbers or call a few people. They don't need the internet. So when you give a fifth grader, I had a dad ask me, so it's good, I give my fifth grader an iPhone, or any apps I can put on there to find out what websites it's going to. Yeah, you can. But once you give the kid the internet, you give them the internet. And the middle school teachers will tell you the number one thing they search So go to your cell phone provider and say, hey, what are your options? And they have a whole slew of options. They have dumb phones that just flip, so your kid's embarrassed to use them. Our folks just turned 13, and my wife and I finally gave him a phone, and he thinks he's the most depressed kid ever, because, you know, they do a lot of look on media. Oh, you have to look up everything. No, you don't have to look up everything, but we'll talk about the media agreement that you can use, but these companies have great plans for you and what the kid can access on the phone. Just know that those teens, it is really hard for them to set limits on themselves and stuff, because a lot of it's a social thing, am I right? Mm-hmm. You have a middle schooler? He or she?
Excuse me, boy, 6th grade.
Boy, does he have a phone yet?
No.
No.
He thinks that he's totally embarrassed. He didn't do homework,
Yeah.
and he didn't do it. He didn't turn it because he's afraid he didn't get our number.
Ah, good. And is he the only one that doesn't have a phone?
That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so for Christmas, we are going to get him one,
Okay.
but this is
Okay.
basic.
Yeah, they'll say, I'm the only one, I'm so oppressed, and then when you start talking to the other parents, oh, yeah, I'm not. And it's like, yeah. Password, again, to give or not to give, that's a key thing. It's a parental decision. It's really up to your family, how much time you want to spend on the phone, how much you trust your child. At the last parent forum, we had 2 parents. The mom said, look, I got 2 13-year-old twin daughters. I don't have time to look at their life all the time. They have the passwords. They can do, you know, they're going to live and learn. And then my dad said, you know, I want to know. My kid doesn't have Snapchat on his phone because I have the password. So once they have the password, they can put whatever they want on there. Much like here, if they steal Amy's password, they can probably not. The elementary, it's not so bad. The middle school, they can install it. But that's something you need to decide. What is the password? If you saw the Canyon City sexting incident, which is was on the news today. There were kids had installed. I mean, there's these vault apps which look like calculators, but really they can hide all the content or photo the kids don't want to share with you. But they can only put those on there if they have the password. You can set the time of day phones can be accessed. Our high school kids, a lot of them are coming in so tired because they're texting late at night, but it really gets bad and you're paying the bill. You can turn that phone off from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I mean, hopefully they charge it outside the bedroom, but I mean, not always be the case. But they have all sorts of features. There's also, I didn't bring it, but here, this is one of the better articles I thought for 13-year-olds, 7 ways parents can help 13-year-olds start their social media lives right. That was one of the better articles, so that's up here. Instagram's a good start. This makes a good point that, you know, you don't need to start with Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. Maybe Instagram's a good place to start. Not a lot of ads, and you don't have to check it all the time. That's a helpful piece. All right. Parent concerns page, again, very nice resource. All right, moving down to make rules. We're going to kind of breeze through the rest of these. Make rules for your media use. And again, that's going to vary by family. So some example rules, dinner time, maybe no cell phones, or maybe one cell phone to, let's research something, let's look that up. Again, passwords, or I'm going to check your device, or you can have an Instagram account, but I'm going to follow you, which they're going to hate. But again, what are your rules before you have that medium? 2 hours a week of screen time, or 1 hour of YouTube, or again, what are your rules? The Pediatrics have weighed in again. They're a big fan of family media use plans. They know too much media use is associated with bad outcomes. They like tech-free zones. So, some guidance there. But have your rules. Also consider after-school programs. So we do a lot of work with after-school programs, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs. I can always tell, and they have computer labs, right, because they want your kids in their program. But I can always tell when the internet filters down at the YMCA because all the kids are gathered around on the computer. It's like, what are they seeing? So ask that question. If they go to your mom's house or grandma's house, I've set up, because I can be a little geeky, but I set up the network for my parents. and they have filtering. Because again, maybe it's accidental, right? Just one, they learned something. One mom told me the 6th grader learned some topics in sex ed class, and he went home just to Google it. And the stuff he found is not what they were teaching, of course, because what you can find now on an unfiltered network now can be, can really be vile and intense. So, babysitter, your spouse, if you're in a split household. I like the family media agreement. I brought some of these for K through 5 and for middle school. They're also on the Common Sense site. So it's a nice way to give out advice or to start the new year. Here's K through 5. I'll stay safe. I'll give out private info. I'll think first. I'll be kind online. I'll stay balanced. But it really just reinforces that, hey, this is another environment, and we just want to track some things. And of course, there's a part for the family to agree to. Some families put that on the fridge. Here's the one we used with our middle schooler, which he thought, oh, do I have to wear this every day, Dad? And no, but it's a little more serious. And then there's one for high school. So that's, you might find that helpful in managing, just putting into writing your family media rules. So that's also on the site. I brought some here too. Parent advice videos. Again, if you subscribe to the Common Sense Media Newsletter, right under their main site here, under videos, under advice, they have some great advice videos. Let me just show you a short clip of multitasking, because Common Sense is doing a lot of research on this topic, because we do it as adults. And I know my kids are watching, but everything I've seen on multitasking essentially says kids can't do it.
You see it every day. Your kids are doing their homework while their cell phones are buzzing and the instant messages are flying. Our kids appear to be whizzes at multitasking, but is this habit a good thing? For kids, the constant switching of tasks can have a negative impact on their academic performance. A recent Stanford University study found that students who multitask showed a decreased ability to focus, understand, and retain information. So what can you do to combat the pitfalls of multitasking, especially during homework? First, limit distractions. Turning off the TV is a great idea, and while you're at it, turn off the MP3 player, put away the cell phones, and log off Facebook. Next, encourage them to read more. It turns out that reading helps kids focus better, and the more you practice focusing, the better you become at it. Finally, check their work. If their work gets turned in late, or if they can't recall what they read the evening before, then it may be a sign that multitasking is the culprit. There's no question that being able to juggle several activities is a necessary life skill, but making sure kids know how to focus on one activity is much more critical to their development. After all, successfully handling one task is a great first step towards handling many tasks. For more tips and advice, check out our mobile app or visit us at commonsense.org. I'm Lori Burke.
So again, some good advice there. And about every week they have a short advice video there. On the distraction piece, so again, when your kid reads at night, it used to be nice to send them to bed with a book, because all they had was a book, right? But now, you send them to bed with a Kindle or an iPad, there could be a chance to go down the screen. Very tempting. So, in another handout I had here, this is probably the best tech handout that I brought. It's by Common Sense, but it's 12 digital hacks to make your tech work better for your family. They briefly cover how to lock an app on the iPad and the Android. So that if you send your kid to bed with an iPad and there's a book on there, but also the internet, there's a way just to lock. It's called guided access on the Mac. Just all they can do is read, and also on the Android, if you want to go to that level. But that's a concern common sense things that you think would never make it to the internet, but to talk to them about what's okay to post online, talk about the long-term impact. Employers, we know you all have probably looked at the teachers here. They might have looked at you never know, but everybody has a digital footprint. Who are my kids? Who are my teachers? So talk to them about the digital footprint. You probably don't have a big one in elementary school, unless they are doing things on YouTube, etc. But even then, the nice thing is we're a Google Apps district, so everything in Google stays in a separate Google bubble. Talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But talking about safety, these are called my scare slides. So there's 3 scare slides. If you want to scare your kids, you can show them this. This is the Canyon City one, which broke a month ago. And this is an old slide, because today they announced none of those kids are going to be charged. But it went on for a whole month, and the high schoolers and some of the middle schoolers were essentially sexting. So you can share these slides with them. We've had a few of those in DPS at the secondary level this year, and I can just tell you it's a pain for everybody involved. So $500 cell phones are confiscated, and that's really what impacts the kids. Like, when do I get it back? Well, you really don't. We need to impound it, and then they realize, wow, you took my life. So these are the scare slides. We show this. This is 3 years old, still on the internet. Again, the permanence of the internet. There's no take backs. Everything's out there. We as adults know this, but this is probably one of the more famous posts from 3 years old. And this one lost your job and can't take it down. In Europe, you can send a request to Google if anybody follows internet law, but you have the right to be forgotten in Europe. Google has gotten 68,000 requests from people like this. They take this down, and they look at each one and say, all right, it's removed from the internet. But here in the U.S., no such law. Snapchat. Snapchat's the big at your kids' schools? Snapchatters? Okay. Biggest app, I think Facebook tried to buy them for $3 billion a year ago. They said no, and they denied the $3 billion. So they're worth a lot. They claim to traffic like 500 million photos a day. But again, everything is saved for some time on a device, so even if it disappears. So again, these are the scare slides to show the kids if you wanted to show them some examples. Finally, be a media critic. So again, what is your kid accessing? Talk to them. That's one of the, if your kid does go on social media, boy, you get a lot of conversation out of them. Wow, so what's this about? And they will talk, like, wow, what's going on? So, what they're watching, Netflix is nice still, because there's still not a lot of ads on there, with Redbox. I think this is last year's research, that might be changed, but look at this, 40,000 ads per year is what the average is, 40,000 ads. And of course, if your kid's on YouTube, that's where the ads have moved, right? Because the advertisers go where the eyeballs go. So, talk to them about what they're seeing, the impact. What are schools doing? Because wow, a lot of schools. We've got Chromebooks everywhere and iPads everywhere. So what's the schools or the district's policy on internet use? And this is going to change as they get older on the school you go to. So multitasking, screen monitoring. I've been on both ends of the spectrum of screen monitoring. I've been in 2 classrooms. One, a non-DPS classroom where I walked around and the 6th graders were doing research. As I walked around each kid had a computer, I saw the minimizing of the screens going on. So I knew they weren't doing research. I was in Jeffco school. And then I've been in one DPS school where I walked in and each kid had a device, and up on the screen were 24 little thumbnails of what was on their screen. So those are the 2 polar opposites. And so again, just ask, how do you know if you're going to be doing stuff online? How do I know that my kid is on task? And so questions parents should be asking in schools. Sharing of student data. If they share your data with other companies, your school should do this. Here's the Asbury letter that you'll be getting.
Yeah.
soon?
Bef-
Okay.
Before break, we're hoping,
So-
we're finalizing.
These are a list of sites that will be used throughout the school year by teachers, and what Asbury is doing here is they want to say, we're going to be working with these outside organizations, sharing maybe like a student ID, but they'll also be knowing, probably with Front Row Math, which is a great website. And oh, see 10 marks there? I love 10 marks. 10 marks, by the way, over summer is free, so it's a ways off, but if you're looking to improve your kids' math, 10 marks is owned by Amazon, but it's a great math website. And did you guys buy a site license? Probably?
No.
Maybe? Oh, no?
We're just using the,
We're using the free.
Okay. Anyway, so they're using these sites, and they need your permission to say, we need to share probably your student ID and a few other pieces of information we're going to use with these websites or online tools. My daughter goes to Edison up in Northwest Denver, and they use a similar set of tools, and we sign this, and again, it's just a disclosure saying this is what we're going to be using, and we need your permission to use these sites in the school. Looks like a couple of typing sites up there, Typing Club, Dance Mat Typing, Edu-Creations is a...
That's a new one we're just finding out about.
Okay.
But it's basically they can do different screenshot things and mark on the
Okay.
screen and do different
Okay.
things, so.
and the only way if they sign in, then, so that they can save it?
Yeah, and share with their
That's where
teacher.
we want to
Okay.
share with their teacher.
Okay. And I will just say, both as a parent, but also working for DPS, this is helpful to know, but these companies, we have agreements with a lot of companies because, again, they want to try to get to your kids, and they also want to sell products, but some of these tools are really going to be helpful in the classroom and also outside of the classroom. I actually, Front Row here, is that the free version?
Yes.
Okay. At the summer conference in Philadelphia, I actually demonstrated Front Row, and
It's very cool.
powerful. The math, there's things you can do online with math now. I mean, even this Khan Academy. My daughter's in the Google Classroom at Khan Academy. She goes in 3 times a week with personalized videos, and she meets with the teacher. And it's just like it just blows you away. So you'll be getting this, or you have that this? Parents?
They're going to get it
Okay.
shortly.
So look at those sites, and really just as Mary's saying, these are the tools we're going to be using, and we want your permission to use them because they think they're going to be helpful in furthering your kids' education along. Any questions on that? Okay. And I also say just with Google, I prefer my 5th grader having a DPS Gmail account than any other email account because it's ad-free. So again, the Google world is its own little bubble. There's no advertising. I mean, it is Google, and but it seems like if you have an Android phone, they know so much about you. But in the DPS Google world, your kid doesn't even have a first name; they just have a 6-digit ID, which I think is kind of nice for the elementary level. And it'll stay with them as long as they're in DPS, and they'll be able to do a lot of collaborative work. But nobody will be able to contact them from the outside. They can share work with you if they have your email. They can share that with you, but it's nice to have its own protected world in the DPS Gmail world. I know some other schools, not outside of DPS, but they've gone outside of that, and it becomes very tough because, again, a lot of those companies have to make money, and then the ads come in, and these can get really dicey. All right, so be a media critic. Again, on the Common Sense site, they have great things if you're trying to curate yourself. TV that's good for boys, positive role models for girls. Finally, 5, join the fun. That's what my kids always have to remind me. Dad, join the fun. Let's find something we can play. So there's plenty of, as you know, great things out there now. It's now a connected world. And find something you can do with them. Here's the curriculum that a lot of schools are using. It's free from Common Sense, so they're teaching a lot of these starting in kindergarten. If you wanted to share with other parents what we've talked about, you can also send them to the Common Sense site. They have a whole slide deck there, the parent videos, so you can share that with other groups, church groups, other community groups, because we're all, again, parents are trying to figure out how to live in this new world. There's also case studies out there, social media and body image, distraction, multitasking. If you want to have a workshop on it, get case studies. Do a few assemblies. So your next steps, if you want the parent newsletter, you can sign up on their site. Let me just show you where, oh, here was the last parent newsletter. This came out Friday. So Best Family Movies of 2015. Those are last week's movies, kids' holiday books and fundraise for December. This is a short video, 5 questions to consider before buying tech for kids. Might want to look at that. So that was the last parent newsletter. So that'll come like every 2 weeks, and you can just sign up on their site. They almost always have something helpful that if you spend a lot of time with technology and kids, you'll find something helpful. So there's my contact info. Any questions? You know, your kids are in the library. Hopefully they're watching something. They've read it through Common Sense.
They switched, actually, from what they originally went to. No, they switched to Mr. Peabody.
Oh, Mr. Peabody, okay, yeah. Yeah, so, it's a new world. Stay connected. Keep talking to your kids. Hopefully, if you plug into the Common Sense site, you'll find it very helpful at the elementary level because, again, when they move into middle school, if you haven't been around middle schoolers or even high schoolers, it's a really new world, and get them trained now, especially literate, and because there's a lot of focus at the middle school level now on tech to get kids up to reading, but man, there's a reason why Colorado has a lot of 3rd graders need to read by 3rd grade, because once they hit middle school, they got to have those skills.
Yeah, so cover a lot of ground here, but if there was one thing that you would suggest you go to immediately when you get home, is it the content filter?
I would, content filter and amount of time, the access. Yeah. Now, we've had the content filter up. I mean, the old rule is be in the same room with them when they're on the internet. But, you know, most families can't do that because they're just so busy. So even accidental searches, you know, just like accidental searching can really bring up something very inappropriate. You know, you don't see that. So a content filter, and also just the amount of time, and hook them on something really good. I mean, the power of you, like our daughter is a master chef and will bake anything, and she's just gone off because you see all these kids now. And if you go to your local Barnes and Noble, now the publishing world has books of YouTube stars. So all of these bakers now you can buy their books, but it's like she's creating. If you get them, because I don't want to. I tell you, don't be the parent and no all the time. So it's like moving towards something they can say yes to.
So she's creating things.
She's creating them. She's not posting to YouTube yet. She's sharing them with her friends that use Google Drive. The other nice thing about your kids on Google Drive is they have unlimited storage. You may not want to tell them that, but you don't need to pay for their storage. So if they film a video and they want to share it with grandma, they don't need to put it on YouTube. If they do follow what we just said, make it private, but they can also just put it on their DPS Google Drive and then share it out. So that's unlimited for DPS Google account. But yeah, she's making videos, and of course now with this, it's so easy to do. Yeah.
What's a good email option for our 11-year-olds? Because they're not only those I've lied, I've created accounts saying my kids are 13, but I feel badly about that. And what do you recommend?
A good email service?
Yeah, like, you know,
Yeah.
the GPS account isn't enough. They need to be able to receive email, but Gmail requires you to be 13. So, like, what do you do when you...
I think I know on there, I think they had a piece on that, they had some sites that they reviewed, and that was a couple of years old, but I know on the Common Sense site, they had a review of how to get your kids started on email sites. Let me look for that. I know there's a review of Mailey there, but that might be out of date. But I know they reviewed some of the email services besides Gmail. So I would go to their site, and if there's time at the end, I'll see if I can pull it up. But there's also there might be one on CNET, but I know there's a couple providers for all things like tech related. Whenever I'm buying a device, I'll look at Common Sense, but also look at CNET because they have the most current and crowdsourced reviews. So I would look on those two sites just for kid email services, Common Sense and CNET, and see what they come up with. Anything else? All right, well, stay connected and know that Amy and Pamela, I mean, it's a world, a new world, but support, especially the tech people. They are running with their heads cut off, trying to provide your kids with good content, but especially at the middle school level, when your kid goes to middle school, as they start using more devices, support those tech teachers, but also just stay involved. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you mention the Content Media app?
I did not.
I find that super useful.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Like, my son is asking about something,
Yeah.
and I don't have to go find a computer, I'm just like.
Oh, yeah. There's an app for all the reviews I just saw. Your kids will, again, probably just like before, like mine do, but again, that's our job, so that as they move into older grades, there's an app, so you don't need to look it up online, and you can just see the reviews there, and I think they refresh it quite a bit, so yes, thank you for the app. And I just saw also that the YouTube came out with an app, and I just saw it was heavily criticized. There's a lot of ads there, and bad nutritional content, etc. So some parents were wanting to know about the YouTube app, so this way it's kind of a world, but the YouTube app is recently come under fire, so if you're using that, you might want to look at the YouTube app and just try to use some of the things we show here, safety mode, etc. All right, have a great holiday, stay in touch with your kids, and thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.